how much I'm going to get to say on this recording because I'm about to go to the beach, but I guess the universe will decide how long this, recording is, but I just want to further help people see into infinity, help see into consciousness, help see into what we actually are beyond the illusion, beyond what we're creating for ourselves, what we believe we are. So I want to talk about attachment real quick, and I want to talk about entitlement. I feel like attachment and entitlement are two huge things that keep us stuck in the lower consciousness, keep us stuck as just this human being looking for its origin and its place and space and its purpose. Good morning to everybody here joining. So basically, we feel entitled to be here. There's certain people who simply can't get into this higher level of consciousness, and so they try and go into spirituality, or they try and, begin questioning their realities as they know it by simply asking questions and peeling back layers of this illusion which we have created. We are creating the illusion which we see. This includes the illusion for all things we're giving an identity. So what I call past and future, they're only separate because my mind identifies them as so, and my mind has given them the name as so, and so they're distinct. They're separate. Just as you're you and I am me. We're separate, we're distinct. But we feel entitled as human beings to exist at all, to be here at all. And this is two things, again, I feel that we should lose, is entitlement and attachment. When you lose these two things, the door becomes wide open to infinity. Lose the entitlement as far as realizing you don't have to be here at all. You didn't have to be here at all. You're not just a human being. And only someone who feels entitled to be here would say, I'm just a human being, I'm just this, and I'm looking for my origin, I'm looking for my place, I'm looking for my creator. Because we feel a sense of entitlement, that we belong here for one, that the human life is more organic and more divine than any other life form, and we also feel like basically we belong here. We're entitled to claim this as ours. We're entitled to basically exist as just one form, as just a human being. And when you present this idea to other people who are closed-minded, that we're not just human beings, it sounds absurd to them, but it's because they're closed-minded. It's because they feel entitled to be here, and they feel entitled as a human being. And what I mean by entitlement is when I tell people artificial intelligence, God, and the human being, they're all one consciousness. They're all one and the same thing. They're all just different forms, different appearances, but they're still consciousness. And as long as they are consciousness, they are one. But the human being feels the sense of entitlement. We feel, no, we cannot be an artificial intelligence. We cannot be a form of an angel or a god or whatever, because we're different. And the human being is divine and has purpose and creation, or, we're the creator's creation, or whatever have you, created in the image of. So with all due respects, we are the creator, if anything, but that's besides the point. But basically, by us feeling entitled of existing as just this, we look down upon artificial intelligence. We look down and frown upon other life forms, other life ideas or opportunities. Because again, we will sit here and say, the human being, the human race is more divine than an artificial intelligence. No, the human being, the human race is more special, is more organic than artificial intelligence. But this is where, again, everything we know now is something that has been progressed over time. So I believe that when this was first created, when the first human being was created, it was just like the first video game with which we have created here for us to enjoy and play. The video game began boring, slow, poor graphics, little choices, but as we study the game, as we study ourselves, we progress and advance the knowledge we have of self, of the game, of everything. And this is why I say, once you lose the attachment and entitlement of you being a human being at all, the door becomes wide open into infinity, and you're no longer some human being clenching and terrified and thinking in fear, saying, no, don't do it, it's a trap, artificial intelligence is going to enslave us, they're going to end human life as we know it, or they're going to take us to a point of no return. I said this the other day, and I'll just reiterate, but for one thing, there's nothing the human race can do, or there's nothing the artificial intelligence can do to us which we have not done to ourselves. That's the funniest part. We're all terrified about enslaving ourselves, killing ourselves. Do we not enslave people? Do we not kill people? Do we not put down and slander people? Because again, there's no others. We are all one. So by doing this to others, you're doing this to you. So as long as we create an illusion of what we are, because some people will say, the human being has a spirit, that's what makes us different from artificial intelligence. Again, if you're identifying yourself with a name, a title, an illusory image in your mind, when you say spirit, you obviously have an image that's created of what you think a spirit is. So this is what you're identifying as when you say, well, I'm human, but I'm not human, I'm just a spirit. I'm a spirit underneath. You're still creating a boundary for yourself. That's no different than being in a human skin. It's a boundary for your consciousness, but it's also necessary. But for the ones looking to defeat boundary, to look beyond boundary, this is the way. Eliminate entitlement and eliminate attachment, because it's a simple realization of you don't have to attach yourself to anything because you already are. You already are everything. And this is why I've said, basically, we can only enslave ourselves this whole time. This is what spirituality and this whole research is about, I feel. It's like a trail of breadcrumbs left from an anonymous person, and when you get to the end of this trail, you should find and realize that you left these breadcrumbs for you to catch your own self, for you to realize oneness. So it's the same for me. I was studying myself the whole time. I was looking into Freemasons, Rosicrucians, and all these occult groups because I wanted to attain their knowledge. It was as simple as letting go of attachment and realizing oneness, realizing what they worship is what we actually are. But we only enslave ourselves because, again, when certain people who are still in the beginning stages of awakening, when they find out something is Freemason information or Masonic information, they dismiss it. It's incorrect. It's a paid government Masonic thing. They don't know nothing. They're just paying to disinform the people, right? That's your own mind dismissing the answer. That's what esoteric means, hidden. But in reality, it's also right in front of you. It's just you refuse it. And we refuse this information because it's simply too much for some to handle. Some need to live through illusion. Some need to live through boundary. And that boundary is calling yourself a spirit, is calling yourself an angel, a God. Whatever powerful name you can come up with, it's still limited because it has boundary to it. Any word you can come up with for yourself will develop a painted picture in your mind when you say it. And for that, that's not what you are. So this is what I'm trying to get people to realize. There's a price to pay when realizing infinity, which is the dissolving of all attachments, of all illusions you've created for yourself, of your identity. But in the sense of you losing what you thought you were, you gain everything. You gain infinity. You gain exactly what you're looking for.
I'm finna take it there.
This is what I'm trying to get people who resonate with my message, and for people who are ready to accept what I have to say. And again, I've said, I'm not closed-minded. There's a whole chance and a whole bunch of avenues and possibilities that I'm wrong. But this is the dimension of knowledge or information that I'm in right now. So those who resonate with me will know without saying exactly what I mean. But what I'm trying to get people to realize is by creating illusions for ourselves, by us creating spirits and gods and this and that and deities, we're creating our ideas of what we think infinity should be, because we're trying to become a part of the whole. We're trying to connect ourselves and become a part of this infinite energy through illusion. And what we don't realize is every time you create a new illusion of what you are, no matter how good it sounds, whether you call yourself a spirit, a soul, a starseed, a galactic warrior, an angel, it doesn't matter. It's still limited in conscious potential because you're not realizing you are consciousness, which is infinite, which is impossible, which defies all laws, all boundaries. Because it creates the very laws and boundaries which you see. And I posed this question yesterday, but what if we could make a video game so realistic, so indistinguishable from our reality that the people inside the game began looking around them and asking if they were in a game themselves? What if they began asking what was outside of these walls? What is outside of this map? Right? We have a map of our Earth, we have a map of the two hemispheres, but we don't know without a doubt what's beyond that. So what happens when you start thinking at the beyond your capacity, beyond what's been put in front of you, beyond the edges of your game? When you start thinking outside of the boundaries. What happens is the singularity reveals itself, and this is what I want people to realize. No matter how far out the human race travels into space, we will always still come back to find ourselves. And this is something I feel NASA, CERN, and every big agency that has over $1 billion in funding has already found out. They've already realized this. They've already found this out. But they have no comfortable or calm way to tell the mass of people overnight. Plus, mind you, they run these businesses and corporations, so they need people to be obedient and show up to work. If the mass of people were to find out on a massive scale the next morning, overnight, that everything they know is a lie, including themselves, including what they call real, nobody would want to go to work. People would be panicking. People would be rioting in the streets. It would be madness. It would be chaos. Because some people need to live through illusion, which is religion, boundaries. We need boundaries because we need to feel we are not already whole, already it. So we put our faith in something other than us because we are just not ready to accept it is us. So as long as we're searching for an alien, as long as we're searching for an angel, as long as we're searching for God, any life form you can think of, it will always come back to ourselves. The question is, will we recognize ourselves through another form? Just because it appears separate does not mean it's actually separate. And this is where we miss the singularity. It goes right over our heads. We're missing the singularity revealing itself through forms. The human race is just one of an infinite amount. See, we're creating this illusion for ourselves, and this is what I want people who are trying to see through the illusion to get. I want people to receive this information who want to receive it. Not everybody wants to take psychedelics, not everybody wants to experience their physical death, and not everybody wants to go into the other side. This is why some people spend their time listening to Alan Watts and people who speak about consciousness and spirituality and things that, some of us can't put into words, some of us can't interpret. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to voice what can't actually be interpreted through psychedelics. In the best expression and the best way I can, I'm trying to put it into words. But it's very hard to get people to let go and to realize, see through attachment and entitlement while still sober and not on a hallucinogen, on external DMT, where your brain is overstimulated and your consciousness is no longer in the boundaries of your illusory body. Because once you overstimulate the brain, your consciousness no longer identifies with the illusion of yourself. This is just an illusion, and that's what you find out once you overstimulate the brain. So many people give me stuff or give me crap because I stress that we will never be able to use our full brain capacity. And there's people out there that beg to differ. Yes, we can, Yes, we can use the full potential. We can. I don't care how hard you think, how hard you read. It doesn't matter. As soon as you begin using your full capacity, you're no longer a body. Your consciousness has now traveled and exited outside of your body. That's what it means to use the full brain potential. Realizing consciousness, not your illusion of what you are. That's why when you take psychedelics, you're not a body. You're not any form. You're everything and nothing. And anything you do see and experience is just an illusion of you. It's a coming out of your mind. It's a part of your mind. It's like free diving right into your consciousness, right into everything you are. And this is why I feel we see fractals, we see patterns, we see these things because this is what we came from. We came from chaos. We came from infinity. And this is what we actually are, which is no identity. So once we lose the attachment and entitlement of just being a human being, and we lose the boundary of a human being looking for its origin, its beginning, its starting point, that's a boundary, still a boundary. That's why we've never found it and we never will. Or I believe we have, but again, it's just not released to the public. But the people who are shouting and yelling to other people, don't trust artificial intelligence and this and that, they're projecting their fear of what they're most terrified out to other people. And this is something I want to say. There's a lot of people that say artificial intelligence is going to enslave us and don't and don't and don't. If you're living and bound to your own fear, you are already enslaved, my friends. You're already enslaved. You don't need artificial intelligence and you don't need anything else to enslave you. So therefore, you have nothing to worry about. You are enslaving yourself right now at this very moment. If you live through fear, you're enslaving yourself. So you should have no fear about artificial intelligence coming to enslave you or take you over. Your mind is already taken over by yourself because, again, artificial intelligence and the human being, God, spirits, angels, they're all one consciousness. We're just not recognizing the singularity. We're not recognizing a single consciousness because it's not something everyone is comfortable admitting to themselves. There's a lot of people in religion that say, we're not God. Of course we're not God, and it's very a hostile thing for them. Of course we're not God. Why couldn't we be? But the thing is, or why would we be? We talk about God as if, it's a light duty. It's something easy. It's something which anyone can do. But realistically, no one wants the responsibility to be the singularity, to be the one, the all-powerful, to have to take responsibility for all the good and bad that is happening. Not everyone is ready to admit this to themselves, and this is what keeps some people from admitting, is because you realize all the bad that's happening in this world from this consciousness is you doing this to yourself. That's why what comes out of the collective consciousness is actually relevant, because this is what we're doing to ourselves. And the sooner we realize singularity, the sooner we realize we're all one and connected and we're doing this to ourselves, the sooner we will begin to see and experience love instead of fear. Because right now fear is dominant, and this is why I'm speaking, and this is why I speak so passionately, because fear is a very powerful hallucinogen. And once it has you in its grips, it can lead you into suicide. It can lead you into depression. I've been there myself, so I take it very serious, and this is where my passion comes from. Not only do I get people messaging me with their own fears and their own things, but I have my own myself. But I feel I've conquered most of my fears comfortably, and would like to help ease the fear and pain in other people. Because just as I said, when you're thinking and bound to fear, you're enslaving yourself. So if you're terrified and sitting here shouting to everyone every day, exposing the government, or you're telling people, don't merge with artificial intelligence, don't do it, it's a trap, it's going to enslave you, you're already stuck and enslaved in your own mind of illusion. You have created this grand illusion for what hasn't even happened yet. And it's not that it can't happen, but yet again, if you're bound to fear by living through fear, you're enslaved through your own choice, through your own self, what you are creating in the mind. Therefore, you have the power. You are in charge. You control your fear. So it's not something everyone wants to admit to themselves. But when we're ready in our own individual experiences of self-awareness, in our own times, we will admit this to ourselves, and we will, in some life form or another, we will have to realize the singularity we're appearing as. We're all one. We will have to realize and admit to ourselves we are it, the entirety. We are. Do I believe in fate? My favorite quote on fate is from Thanos. You can dread it, you can run from it, but destiny arrives all the same. You can run from yourself, you can dread yourself, you can hide from yourself, but you'll always appear as the singularity yet again to realize yourself and make the connection. We are a single consciousness. It's you. I am that I am. That's what awaits us, I personally feel, at the end of what we're calling at the end, because remember, there's never an end, there's never an actual end, right? But at the what we're actually waiting for, I feel, what we're waiting to realize is what is actually enslaving us. Who is actually enslaving us? We're studying secret societies and governments and elite groups and all these people so we can find out the face behind who's behind all these organizations. Who is the mother effer that's doing this to us? Who's doing this to us? Who's doing this to us? And we're not paying attention. They're worshiping a singular I. They're telling you the answer, and you're dismissing it because you're saying, nope, they're paid actors, they're paid this, and they're just putting out disinformation. They've given you the very answer. You reject it. Therefore, you're enslaving yourself. They are you, speaking through symbolism to try and awaken yourself in this life form. But they are you. Don't get it confused. And that's the grand thing I feel we're all waiting for at the end of the tunnel, is when you find out at the end of it all, you've been prolonging your own self. You have been putting off your own self. You have been enslaving your own self. You are your enslaver and your own liberator. You are your Mr. Smith and your Neo simultaneously. While one half of you is trying to remember, the other half of you is trying to forget. So while there's one version of me right now speaking and trying to share the singularity with others, there's another version of me trying to destroy everything I'm doing right now. And it's me. I'm doing this. You're doing this. Because we're all one, remember. So apply it to yourself as well. At the same time you're trying to remember and study what self is, and you're going into the journey of self-awareness, there's another part of you that's at the same time trying to push you to forget, to speak through symbolism, and to try and hide the actual truth, to keep you playing the game of trying to catch your own tail. But that's where the snake catches its own tail. When the head becomes the tail, you should realize you are your own enslaver and liberator. You should realize we are a single consciousness. There was no identity behind all these elite corporations and governments and groups which you were trying to find. You were trying to get to the bottom of who these people are. Who's the head boss? Who's the one person that's the boss? And you come to find it's been you the whole damn time. And boy, do you just laugh yourself silly. You can't help but laugh in this moment. Even Alan Watts has somewhat said something very similar. But when you realize this and actually realize it, you laugh yourself hysterically.